investors.
I am here with the Property Challenge podcast.
I teach investors all around the world how to become real estate investors and
how to overcome their challenges. Join me here every single week. PCP, the Property Challenge podcast.
When I started this podcast and when I said, what am I going to talk about? I said the best name is
the Property Challenge.
Hey investors, welcome to another episode of the Property Challenge podcast, where we dive deep into real estate transactions. We dive deep into real estate deals and just the process of real estate. And today we are going to be talking about having discernment as a real estate investor. Now, for those of you who don't really know what discernment is, and you may be like, oh my goodness, what the heck is discernment, right? Discernment is something that you ask for in prayer from God, right? So there's not a property that I purchase that I do not pray over. Every last property that I buy, I pray over it. Why? Because there are all type of dark demonic assignments, which I believe, right, are attached to a lot of the properties, especially in New Orleans. And I just don't want to inherit those dark problems. And so with that, in order for you to know something like that, you got to have discernment. So I kind of describe discernment the easiest way as a feeling. Like God sends you a feeling about something. Sometimes it's a red flag, right? And we know that God has literally warned us about something, but we do it anyway. That is discernment. Discernment is knowing ahead of time that something is not right. Now, you can even go deeper because there's also the discerning of spirits. Now, you do know all type of things are, I believe all type of people and things are associated with spirits. So you'd be like, okay, God, what is that spirit that's on that person? Like, is it the Jezebel spirit? Is it the spirit of manipulation? Is it the spirit of, being narcissistic? Like, what is this spirit that I am discerning off of this person because it bothers you? So when you have discernment, it's something that is bothering you that you really can't explain to nobody else because you really shouldn't be having this feeling, but it's given to you in advance. And so when I say discernment as a real estate investor, a lot of you guys are going to start working with contractors. And baby, you want to know what discernment is. You want to have some discernment because I'm telling you now, if you do not start asking God to prepare your heart, right, for this real estate journey that you're on and or that you're about to start, you will end up getting messed completely over because you're going to think everybody is a good guy. Discernment tells you when something is off. Discernment tells you when something is not right. And I just had a situation, which this is why I'm talking about it, is because I literally just went through this. I had a contractor who came out to my property and he was a really great contractor. Like he was super sweet, super nice. His work was excellent, but I could not figure out what was that thing that was bothering me about him, right? And so I just, I said, God, as we continue to work together, if I continue using this contractor, can you show me what this spirit is that I am detecting with this person? It's almost like I'm Inspector Gadget, right? Like he's working for me, but I'm not quite comfortable with him, right? And so, lo and behold, he does the first project, actually on my personal resident. He did an amazing job. And then I sent him to a second job because he said, look, I'm looking for work. I really want to be involved. My business is slow right now. So anything you can give me to help me out would just be fantastic. So I'm like, all right, cool. So I put him on the next job. And guess what? He knocks that job out the ballpark. But the feeling still did not go away. And one day he called me and I said, hey, I have another project that I want you to go to. Now, on this project, you got to keep in mind, right? The first few projects was like $5,000, $10,000. I'm now calling him for a $60,000 job. Okay. So as I'm having a conversation with him and we're talking about the property, and so we decide we're going to meet up, we're going to create a SOW, which is called a scope of work, and we're going to itemize every single thing on that list that we want the contractor to do. Now, for those of you who's new with real estate investing, you always want to create a scope of work with your contractor. That means you're going to walk the property. You start from the exterior of the property. You know, you're looking for trip hazards. You're looking for foundation issues. You're looking for damaged soffit, damaged fascia, damaged roofs, damaged porches, damaged steps. You always, you start from the outside and then you work your way to the inside, right? So as we're doing the scope of work and we're marking everything is going really, really good. So we get to the end of it. And I said, okay, I know it's going to take you a few days to get me a price. And so once you give me a price, then let me know, and then we'll go from there. Now, guys, you don't always have to accept your contractor's price when they bring it to you. You can always negotiate that. I believe everything in real estate is negotiable. Now, keep in mind, I already had an uneasiness about this contractor, but I could not figure out what it was because he was doing so well for the first few projects. So he gave me a price on the property and I agreed to it. He said, okay, my labor be $30,000 and you get all the material. So I said, okay, that works because at the end of the day, I know he's going to do a great job on the project. His craftsmanship is impeccable. And his time, the amount of time he takes to finish the project is super fast. And a lot of people lose money in real estate investing because the project is just delayed over and over and over again. And if you have a bank loan on it, it can just cost a lot in interest payments, right? So he's calling me. We talk about this price. We agree on it. And then he says to me, he says, by the way, whenever I work for someone, I ask them to give me a credit card to go to the store and get everything I need for the material. So you know me, I'm like, hey, come again? What you mean? So he's saying, I need a credit card so I can just go buy what I need so I don't have to disturb you. I say, no. You're not disturbing me. Call me anytime. I have where if you at Home Depot, you can just have them text me and then I press 1 and then it's already approved and paid for. Or everybody at Home Depot, Lowe's, Steins, Doug Ashley, they know who I am. So if you say Terrica Lynn Smith and you say it's for this project, they're going to call, verify, and then it's going to get approved. So it's not a big process. Like it's not going to take a whole lot of time for you to just get an approval for a deal. So you don't need a credit card. So he said, okay. So he was fine with it at that point, right? Until one day I get to the job site after I just approved, right, the purchase that he called in. Now, well, let me back up a little bit. I actually went to the job site with the last material order that he ordered for the property, and I had just so happened to count 65 pieces of sheetrock. Now, anytime you're buying, anytime you got to get material for a property and you're letting your contractor buy the material, what you're doing is you're going to that property to audit the materials. So you don't just swipe the card or pay for everything and just be like, yeah, he's bringing all that to my property. No, baby. You better check and make sure your stuff is at your property. So I ended up counting 65 pieces of sheetrock. So I noticed that for 2 to 3 days, they were not there working. And so I get a phone call saying, hey, we need for you to approve a sheetrock order for such and such. And I said, a sheetrock order? I just bought sheetrock. So they said, well, he said he didn't have enough and he need 15 more sheets. So one of the things that's very important in real estate is this. You have to be able to do math, okay? You got to know how to measure. You got to know how many pieces of sheetrock they're going to need for that particular house. If they got to do the walls, the ceilings, you just got to know the measurements, right? So when I counted the 65 pieces of sheetrock, I did the math on the square footage and I knew that we had enough. So I said, I declined it. I said, I'm not paying for that because I got 65 pieces of sheetrock. And mind you, he has not been there for a few days. So the sheetrock is still sitting there. Why do he need to go and buy additional sheetrock? So he calls me and say, hey, this is why I asked for a credit card because I don't want to have to keep calling you back and forth for you to approve what I need to finish your project. I said, but you have 65 pieces of sheetrock sitting in the house that you have not used. How do you know you need 15 more pieces? Because I measured. I said, well, I measured too. And I measured that you have enough. So then he goes back to the house and he tells me, he says, there's only 40 pieces of sheetrock here. That's what he said. Guys, discernment is so important. I don't care how old you are. I don't care. You have to trust your discernment. Believe the red flags about people the first time you feel it. Because the moment I knew something was off, it put me on guard to start paying attention. It did not mean not to work with him right now. It just meant I had to pay attention to him. And because I was paying attention, I knew he was lying about the sheetrock because I counted it myself. I counted sheet by sheet myself. I did not miss a sheet. So I said, I'm not paying for that, right? So he goes on and, he gripe, he complains, whatever. He goes back to the property. Guess what? They installed the sheetrock. It's magically enough. It's enough sheetrock, right? So it goes further. But before I go further in the story, I just want you guys to know that do not fold under pressure. These contractors will put you under pressure and make you feel like you dumb and illiterate. But the thing is this, 1 + 1 = 2 every day of the week. Every day of the week. It does not matter what day of the week it is, 1 + 1 = 2. So for those of you who are kind of like a marshmallow, you kind of soft, you don't stand up for yourself, you let people walk over you, I recommend you get a project manager, someone you can trust, someone that can look out for you and make sure you're not being taken advantage of. Because if you too soft to stand up to a contractor and call him out on his lies, then they will take complete advantage of you. Now, don't get me wrong. There are some great contractors in this world. I say that sarcastically. I don't trust no human when it comes to doing construction. I trust black and white. People catch amnesia. Contracts don't. Always remember that. People catch amnesia. Contracts don't. So what does that mean? I know that today he may be agreeing to something. Tomorrow he may be saying something else. So he can come like he was trying to do to me and put pressure on me because he's at the store. And normally most people would break and say, well, he already got the sheetrock. Maybe I miscounted. You start discrediting yourself. You start disqualifying yourself. You start telling yourself maybe you were off. We do that often in life and we have to stop doing that. So I didn't care that he had to go bring the 15 pieces of sheetrock back. That sounds like a personal problem to me because what I do know, one thing for sure, two things I know is that there were 65 pieces of sheetrock in that house, right? So so after we go through that process, then we get into the electrical part. The electrical part was very simple. I was going to pay $1,800 for labor and material to change out a panel. Okay, cool. Labor and materials. Homeboy called me because he needs to get a 240 amp wide light, some kind of crazy wire, right? And said I needed to pay for it. And the amount of wiring he needed was like $1,200. So I said, hey, per the scope of work, per what you signed off on, I agreed to $1,800 for labor and material. Why are you coming back telling me I need to pay for the wiring? No. It only meant the material inside of the breaker box. I'm sorry. I associate wiring with breaker panels. I consider that material. He said, no, now you're causing me to lose money. That's what he told me. So I'm like, okay. Now, guys, it's very important that you follow a draw schedule whenever you're working with contractors. I never overpay a contractor. So if a draw schedule is 100% completion, right? So if 0% is the start of the project and 100% is 100% completion, meaning your tenant can walk in and move their furniture in. You never overpay for work that has not been done. And you never pay for work in advance. A lot of people pay for work in advance, and that is the most insane thing I have ever heard of. I would never pay nobody to get started for work. Where in America do you get paid in advance to start a job? I'll wait. Okay? If you not know high level CEO, COO, nobody is not about to advance you some money and hope that you show up tomorrow. That is not how it worked. So whenever I told him that, I started sensing the tension between me and him getting stronger and stronger. So you know me, I'm going to stick to my budget and I'm going to stick to my draw schedule. So if my draw schedule says that, let's just say for easy math, $100,000. And let's say 70% of it means $70,000. He should be at 70%. The house should be at 70% to get $70,000. That's just the way a draw schedule works, right? And so I'm literally looking at the draw schedule and I realize that they have put in more work than what he's requested in draws, okay? So he has put in, let's just say the property right now is probably at about 60%. And of his labor draw, I may have paid him 20%. So he calls me and he says, hey, I'm not going to be working at your job no more. It's too hard to get money from you. I said, why is that? Why is it hard? I said, you get mad because I go count my material. You get mad because I tell you that you don't need no more sheetrock. And guess what happened? You did not need more sheetrock. You get mad when I hold you accountable to my money that I'm giving you. Why are you even feeling like this? It don't even make sense to me. So he goes on to give this sob story about how he needs this and that or whatever. I said, if you need a draw, ask for it. You do for a draw. I do not mind paying you for a draw. But if I said $1,800 for labor and material, I'm not giving you another $500, $1,200 for wiring. I'm just not doing it. You're going to have to eat that out your other money. So that's when he said he wanted to quit. So I said, okay, fine. I gave him that 24 hours. He texted me back the next day. He said, hey, I changed my mind. I want to finish working for you. Sometimes I just get upset and I just say the wrong things. Now, mind you, I have not found a new contractor to finish this project out, but I'm also not butthurt because I have not overpaid this contractor. So because I know I have not overpaid him, I'm okay with him walking off the job. I'm okay with him going somewhere else because I still have more than enough money in my draw schedule to pay a whole nother contractor to start from zero. So I'm fine, right? So I said, okay, welcome back to work. The terms are still the same. Nothing has changed, right? So he go back to work and he start working. I'm verifying all receipts. I'm verifying the work that's being done. I'm verifying everything. So then he comes and tell me, he said, I want to make this property a little bit more prettier for you. I said, I didn't ask you to make it more prettier for me. Sound like more money to me. He said, no, just a little bit more money, but it's going to be worth it. I said, hey, this is a renter property. I am not about to make it more prettier. Put the sheetrock up, get to the painting stages, okay? So we go back and forth about that. He goes back to the store, and guess what? It happens. He said, hey, I need to pick up some stuff, and I need for you to pay for it. So I said, okay. Well, when he called me, this is how God works, right? When he called me, my phone was on silent, so I missed his call. He called me 3 times. So when I called him back, I'm like, hey, I'm so sorry I missed your call. I said, I knew you needed something to pay for. I said, I hate that happened. He said, it's okay. I used my other Home Depot card. He sent me a picture of the Home Depot card. It had another customer name on it. Yeah. It had another customer name on it. Somebody say discernment. So you mean to tell me you using somebody else Home Depot card to pay for a project that is not for them? This is why you wanted my card. Because now you can start floating projects and start using money from one project to cover another project. But what happens is you end up in a Ponzi scheme because somewhere somebody's going to fall short and you're not going to be able to finish a property. And guess what? It won't be on Terrica Lynn Smith property. I said nothing. Guys, I said nothing. Sometimes you don't have to show your whole hand. But now I know what old boy do. He used other people cards for other people job sites, and then he upcharges it to make money on it. And then he tells the people that it's for their property. And these people are not coming to check to see if the material is even in their property, because if they would have checked that last order, they would have seen that that material never made it to their property. It made it to my property. And guess what I did? I mind my business and I paid him back for what it was. But I knew he would never hold the card for me. So a few more weeks go by and he goes on, and every day he's confrontational with me. Every morning I wake up to a nasty text message. I'm doing more work in this house than what we agreed to. I'm getting tired of working at this house. My guys didn't show up today. Every excuse you can possibly think of, homeboy had it at my phone 6 o'clock every single morning, right? So yesterday he calls and I was done, because I knew that my job was a lot further along than what his draw schedule was. So I said, hey, you seem like you're not happy here. It's best for you just to leave. I'm really good with letting people go, right? Like I don't bounce back and forth. I don't go inside I hate that. Just make your decision, right? So I told him, I said, this is not working out between me and you because you're disturbing my peace early in the morning. In the morning, I like to spend time with God. I like to have a cup of coffee. I like to hug on my kids. My children are grown now. I want to be involved in their business. I want to be nosy. You making me miss all the tea with my children. You really not worth the frustration that you're causing me right now. I hate getting up out of my king size bed in the morning, aggravated and frustrated because you didn't text me some foolishness. So he said, I apologize, Ms. Terrica, for that. I'm going to do better. I said, I do believe that you're going to do better, but you'll do better at somebody else's job, because I would never give you a card to one of my properties. And because I won't give you a card to one of my properties, you think you can treat me like garbage, and you cannot. I will not allow you to treat me like garbage. And so we ended the relationship. Now, for some of you, you would probably be freaking out because I'm 60% in the project and I have to find a new contractor to come in and do the work. One thing I'm confident of is my skills. One thing I'm always confident of is my skills. Nobody will outwork me. Nobody will ever outwork me, right? And look, I've always had that mindset. So if I have to work from sun up to sundown to find somebody to finish this job in the budget that I have and get it done on time, you better bet your bottom dollar that I will get the job done. That's the mindset you have to have, that when you're working with contractors. But not only that, you also got to have that discernment. Some of you, like, I got that dog in me. Like, when I talk, you can just hear that dog. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, some people be shocked when I give them a fast decision. I'm like, yo, I'm out. I'm done. Right? So they like, it's like whiplash. Like, how can you make a decision that fast? Because I know my skill set. I know how to bet on Terrica. I've been betting on Terrica since she's 5 years old. I've been betting on Terrica since she's been in the foster care system. I've been betting on Terrica since she's been homeless up under the bridge. I've been betting on Terrica since she's been taking a real estate exam. I've been betting on me my whole life. And guess what? I'm undefeated with betting on me. So what I do know is this: no matter what, this project is going to get done with or without him. There's nobody on my team that's not replaceable, irreplaceable, right? The thing is this: when you bring value, people want to keep you around naturally. When you don't bring value, you bring frustration, you bring complaints. Like 6 o'clock in the morning, I'm getting text messages. You're already bothering my day. You're disturbing my peace. I like my peace, right? I like to live in happiness and joy. And you come in with your little negative self. You went from being this happy, sweet contractor to Satan himself. I don't get it. But what I do know is this: I'm not about to work with Satan, because now I got too many other businesses relying on me. And if I allow that frustration I have from those businesses from this business to pass on to my other businesses, now it's unfair to the people that work at those other businesses. So the next thing I want you to do is don't be afraid to ask your contractor questions. Because I kept asking him questions, it made him nervous. But somebody who don't have nothing to hide, and you remember what your mama used to say back in the day: if you have nothing to hide, you don't mind answering questions. If you have nothing to hide, you do not mind answering questions. But it's when you got to remember a lie. It's when you got to remember that lie. It's when it becomes hard, complicated, confusing, and frustrating. Then I said this, right? Working with your contractors. Don't be afraid to tell them, no, you're not doing something. No, I don't want this in my project. If you can avoid your contractor paying for doing labor and materials, I would do that. I do not allow my contractors to buy my material. You know why? Because they want more money on the labor than they do on the material. So the quality of the material that they may place in your property may be very low grade material because they're focused on their labor. So I tell them, give me your labor price and I'll deal with the material price. The other reason why I like dealing with the materials myself is because I can scale back and I can push forward if I need to do more. I determine how nice this asset is, not the contractor. So if you can avoid staying away from labor and material contracts, make sure you do that. It's okay to say, no, I'm going to deal with the materials. You just tell me what your labor is and put the labor on a draw schedule, okay? For those of you who don't know what a draw schedule is, you can join our community and then you can get it, right, of course. Or you can just go look up what a draw schedule is and kind of create a template that best suits you. So while I'm dealing with this contractor and I'm going through all of these things, I understood from the beginning that there was an assignment that I had to do in the beginning. I had to watch him. I didn't know what it was because he wasn't manifesting at first. He only started manifesting when I said I was not going to do what he wanted me to do. So because of that, I was not afraid to walk away. So do not be afraid to walk away from a project. From a contractor who's trying to take advantage of you. But also make sure that you are there for your contractor and making sure they have everything that they need. Because it just so happened my phone was on silent and I missed it. And he sent me a text message of the card he used with a copy of the receipt. And that was not his card. And I asked him, was that his card? And he said, no, it was a customer card, but they don't mind. Who don't mind you using their money for somebody else's property? Help me make that make sense somewhere. Everybody minds that. There's not a human alive that would say, yeah, of course you can use my card and go buy whatever you need for somebody else's property. And then I would say this. When you are working with these contractors, don't be lazy. There's nothing worse than a lazy project manager. If you're going to manage your projects yourself and be a project manager, do not be a lazy one. What do I mean when I say don't be a lazy project manager? Do not expect for your material to be at that house and you don't go and verify it. I don't care how busy your day is. I don't care how many things you have going on. If you do not go and check that work and you pay them a draw on work that they did not do, and or you go check that property and your material is not there, you can lose a lot of money in your project. So a lot of people, when they get started, they're too trustworthy. They're trusting of all of these people that's coming in and say, hey, I'm here to help you. Hey, I'm here to help you. Hey, I'm here to help you. I also have a penalty in my contract. It's $100 per day that they are late on my project, meaning you have a deadline in the contract. Do not get involved with contractors without a contract. This same contractor also, it's funny that I said that, he did not want to sign a contract. Y'all, this dude did not want to sign. I said, I am not working with you without a contract, not with no $60,000, right? But don't get involved in a contract and not get it signed or executed. And then also make sure if they're sending you a contract, you understand exactly what's inside of that contract. You hear exactly what they're saying, not hear, you understand exactly what's inside of that contract. Those things are very important because if you are not careful, you can end up getting a haircut. You can end up losing a whole lot of money by trusting these contractors. Now, I'll leave you guys with this because I want for you to be able to digest this episode. I want for you to go back and take notes, right? I'm going to run through the list real quick. Number one, don't fold under pressure. I don't care how hard it is, no matter how frustrating it is, no matter what it is, don't fold under pressure. You stand 10 toes flat, right? Don't overpay. Don't overpay. Make sure you follow your draw schedule. If you do not follow your draw schedule, you will overpay. Learn when to hold back some of the draw. You don't have to pay the whole draw. Pay what you believe is completed, right? If flooring is 10% of completion and they get $10,000 and they only did 50% of the flooring, then they get $5,000. The next thing is avoid allowing your contractor to make charges and give them debit cards and credit cards without you being there to use them. Like don't give them your money in advance. That's like paying them in advance. You do know contractors, how they make money is they overbuy and then they return things to the store and they get a gift card and they use that gift card to go buy materials for another property. I've been doing this a long time, y'all. So he told me after he was so upset at me, he said, you just a mean old woman. You don't trust nobody. I said, I'm mean because I want to see where my stuff at. Okay, call me mean. Call me whatever name in the book you want, okay? Just put Mrs. in front of it, okay? Just make sure you give me the correct title. Mrs. meaning Mrs. whatever, right? I'm sure he called me a female dog. I'm sure he called me a lot of things, okay? The next thing I said is verify all receipts. If you are going to go against my advice and do labor and materials, you better verify all receipts and that everything is in that property and that you keep those receipts. What I love about Home Depot and Lowe's is they have adopted a policy where in order to get cash back, you have to have the receipt. If you don't have the receipt, they'll give you a gift card. Like I told you, that's how they kind of make money and they can steal from you with that gift card. But if they have that receipt and you let them keep that receipt, they can return that stuff and get money, right? Look at your budget daily. Don't ever let a day go down without you looking at your budget and making sure that you're staying on track with your budget and that you are balancing your construction site the way that it needs to be done. Stay away from shady contractors. Shady contractors, you can tell them they're very slimy. You know, anybody that's like, pay me now before they did any work is a shady contractor. Like, why would you be asking me to pay you for something you did not do? And I know I get it all the time. They be like, T, you don't understand. In our area, people won't work without you giving them an advancement. Okay, give them $1. Give them what you can afford to lose. Give them what you can afford to lose. Because I know when I do a budget, I need every single penny accounted for. But if you want to be that person where you want to go on ahead and do it, I'm just saying, do it at your own risk, okay? And then stay away from confrontational contractors. This guy was so confrontational. He was exhausting and he wore me out. His craftsmanship was amazing. His timelines with getting work done was amazing. But when we start getting into bigger projects, I start seeing the other side of him. Now, I'm fortunate in my case that my project is way further ahead of what his draw schedule was. So him walking away from my job is only a benefit to me because now I get to save more money in my budget. And then the last thing I would say is this: know when to walk away. Guys, you got to know when to walk away. Every deal is not worth your time. Every contractor is not worth the relationship. If you do not know when to walk away, you will lose money. And if you're serious about being a real estate investor or you're a real estate investor and you're kind of going through it right now, you may need to walk away from the situation. Because the more time you stay there, the more money you lose. And time is of the essence. So every single time I'm doing a project, I have a timeline that it has to be finished by. So I am not in a position where I can afford to waste any time on non-producing contractors. Contractors that's spending days away at my property doing work at other people's property and then trying to come back and tell me that they need more material for my property. No, that tells me you took 15 sheets of my sheetrock and you brought it over to another property and then you tried to make me repay for it again. But I wouldn't know that if I was not being a good project manager and I was not paying attention. So if you do not have that in you where you can just have those challenging conversations, most people call them confrontational. I don't call it confrontational. I call it a challenging conversation. If you're not one that's really good at handling challenging conversations, put somebody in charge that can have that challenging conversation for you. I'm your host, Terrica Lynn Smith. This has been another great episode of PCP, the Property Challenge Podcast. Make sure you click the subscribe button, okay? Click the subscribe button. We are giving you the real estate gems every single week. I'm out of here. Peace.